tree, white and pink and lazy as can be. But I'd be king just in the spring, so now I think it over. Gee, I'm glad I'm no one else but me. If you sit around and find the world is gloomy, and it isn't just your cup of tea, it's easy to imagine that it's rose and bloomy. You can think the things you want to be. So when all is said and done, imagining's a lot of fun. But when there are battles to be won, be what you are, it's best by far, and soon you'll be in clover. Gee, I'm glad I'm no one else but me.
Hey everyone, I'm Stephen, the Dancing Baker Canada. If you haven't been to my channel before, welcome. So, my last recipe out, I did a luscious, rich peanut butter pie with a chocolate ganache. And this time I thought, okay, let's mix it up. I'm going to do something savory. Now, it's not only savory, it's also a little bit spicy. And all I did to give it that kick was I added a few jalapeno. Then I wanted to elevate that flavor, so I added just a touch of chipotle. And to complement those two things, I added some cheddar. And in the end, we're going to have a moist, savory, spicy cornbread. That's right. Today, we are going to make a spicy jalapeno, chipotle, cheddar cornbread. So, let's get started. Boom! Okay then, so we're going to start with our dry ingredients. In here, I have 3/4 of a cup of flour and 3/4 of a cup of cornmeal. Just gonna throw that in. Get rid of that. In here, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Now, I like to use sea salt. You could also use kosher salt if you like. Just throw that in, get all of that in there. And here we have 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda and 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. Get all that in. Nice. Now, where's my whisk? Just gonna whisk this around, give it a good mix. Good. That's all there is to the dry ingredients. Now, we're just gonna put that to the side for a minute. Next up, here we go. I'm gonna take a cup of buttermilk. Now, buttermilk is going to help this cornbread stay nice and moist. Shake it up before you measure it because buttermilk can separate a bit. So there we go. Just pour that in. And I've already cracked 2 eggs in here. Here we go. Just gonna pour those both in there. And I'm gonna give them a good mix around, a good whisk around. Nice. Here, check that out. Can you see? It's a little hard from this angle, but you get the idea. Here we go. To that, 5 tablespoons of melted butter. Now I've melted this and I let it rest just for a little bit. Throw that in. Get rid of that. See what I mean? This recipe is so simple, and you want to give that a good mix around there. All right. Good. Next up, I'm going to add my dry ingredients, and I always like to do this a little bit in stages. Where's my wooden spoon? Take my wooden spoon, and I'm just going to bring it all together. With cornbread, you really don't need to overmix at all. There we go. Let's get the rest of it in There. Good. Now, if you just want a plain cornbread, this recipe is pretty much ready to go once all the ingredients are mixed thoroughly. But because we're elevating this just a little bit, here, hold on. Check that out. Can you see that? There we go. So, just because we are elevating just a little bit, I took some pickled jalapenos. Now you can use a regular jalapeno or you could use pickled, and I just kind of guessed how much I like, but this would be the equivalent to maybe a big jalapeno. Take the seeds out, okay? The seeds really carry a lot of the heat, so just dump that in. Yeah, seeding your jalapenos really make a big difference there. Good. Next, I'm going to take a cup of cheddar. Now this is a sharp cheddar. You can use any kind of cheese really that you like. I know manchego goes really well with cornbread. And I'm just gonna fold this cheese in. There we go, get in there. Good stuff. And I'm just gonna fold it through gently. There. And really, that's all there is to it. Okay, so let's move on to the next step. Now you can use a square tin, a 9 by 13 inch tin, or you could use a muffin tin. My friend JR gave me this little loaf pan, and I love it. It's kind of perfect for this cornbread. And I'm just gonna divide the batter evenly between all the tins, and you wanna fill them up about halfway. And with this recipe, the cornbread's not gonna rise like a cake or like a muffin would, but it is gonna rise a good amount. Okay, the last one. That looks pretty good, and it looks pretty even. I'll just get rid of this. There we go. Okay, next up, I am just gonna sprinkle this with a little bit of chipotle. Now what I did here, check these out. These are chipotle peppers. See that? Very cool. I got those at a local market called Chicory Blue. It's kind of a pop-up market that happens once a week in the Lunenburg area. And all I did was I took the chipotle peppers and I put them in the coffee grinder and ground it up to a little bit of a spice. Now you could also achieve that with a mortar and pestle, or you could also, what's the word I'm looking for? Oh yeah, you can also put them in a baggie just like that and take your rolling pin over them, just like I did in my peanut butter pie video. So you should totally check that out. I did it with peanuts for that video. So here we go. Just sprinkle the chipotle on top. You don't need a whole lot. You don't want the spice to overtake it. Now the very first time I made this recipe, I actually put chipotle peppers right into it, but I kinda prefer this just a little bit more. Just gives it just that little touch of smokiness, and that's all you really need to elevate it. And I believe you could probably even get the same result with a smoked paprika if you didn't have chipotle available to you. There we go. That should be about good. Here, so have a look at that. Can you see just a touch of smokiness? Now, I grated off a little bit of extra cheese. I'm gonna garnish the tops of these just with a bit more cheddar. There we go. So I'm basically just zhuzhing them up just a little bit. And one more thing, some jalapeno rings. So look at this. See, check that out. Seeded, just put them on top. And they're gonna bake in beautifully. Good, there we go. So I'm gonna put these in the oven at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. You want them to be a nice golden brown. Then just do the toothpick test. Now, if your oven runs hot, just check them maybe at 18, 19 minutes and you should be fine. So I'll see you after the bake. And just like that, we're done. And that only took 20 minutes. Here, check these out. Aren't those gorgeous? Here, let's get an even closer look. Boom. That's a beautiful thing. And I tell you, this cornbread is a perfect accompaniment for maybe a chili or a stew. Last night we had a couple people over for dinner. Very last minute, I made a farfalle pesto with chicken, bacon, scallions, sun-dried tomatoes in a chipotle cream sauce. And I thought, I'm gonna whip some of these up, and they were perfect. So let's give this a try. So good. You gotta make these. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out my channel. Now, if you enjoyed this video, why don't you give me a big thumbs up by hitting that like button and maybe share with your friends. And if you haven't already, you should totally subscribe. I'm a lot of fun. You can also follow me on Instagram at The Dancing Baker Canada. So, I'm just gonna leave you here with this. Whack! Boom! Ha! See you next time!
But I'd be king just in the spring, so now I think